What is worth saying? What is worth doing? What is meaningful? Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, it's a simple answer, really. It's everything and it's nothing. It's all subjective. It's whatever you want to be meaningful. There's value in each and every human spirit in whatever they choose to do. And, I mean, yeah, but that's such a cop-out answer. Yeah, of course, meaning is subjective. We have trouble even defining what meaning is in an objective sense. And well, actually, we have trouble defining a lot of words that exist solely within the scope of concept and self-interpretation. See, this would be a really boring video if I just droned on and on about semantics and philosophy and history, only to come to the conclusion that meaningfulness is found within your heart, and it's whatever you want it to be. And maybe I will say that at the end. But I think that I have a viewpoint that's worth hearing out, at least for 8 minutes so I can get AdSense money. My name is CrackSmoker96, your favorite virtual idol, and today we're recycling my old script titled What is Worth Saying, and we're rephrasing it into what is worth saying is that which is valuable relative to your perception of the world. Oh, pseudo-intellectualism, oh!
Yo! Yo. I just tell if without juicing, topping this out my lifestyle. I just tell if truly I don't even know if you come without the beginning.
So I suppose the only meaningful question one could ask in regards to this topic would be one that takes into account one's own subjectivity, and more specifically, my own subjectivity. Maybe a question like, what is worth saying? Or what is worth doing for me? What is worth spending my time on? And there are a few perspectives you could take this from. From an objective, utilitarian standpoint, it would probably be whatever makes me the most money, whatever provides the most value to my life, in a physical sense. So maybe instead of making this video, I should be working on the various projects that I have, which would objectively just make me a lot of money. On the other hand, from an encouraging, hippie, peace and love, cop-out friend standpoint, it would be whatever makes you happiest, man. So maybe instead of making this video, I should go to the nearest homeless man and go buy some heroin off him and smoke it off a piece of foil. See, all of these answers are wrong. And not just because I'm over-exaggerating them and making crazy hyperboles. No, they're wrong based on the objective evidence that is me making this video right now, rather than doing any of those aforementioned things that would be, apparently, more meaningful according to the two perspectives I listed. The fact that I am sitting here and recording this video proves that, in some sense, the person behind the microphone has deemed this action to be more meaningful than the other two options that I see. So why am I making the video? Why does this action take priority over others that would objectively just benefit me more, either emotionally or physically? Over others that might make me feel happier? And the truth is, I don't think I know the answer. And I don't think you know the answer in your own life either. Maybe sometimes people just do things to do things. Maybe sometimes it just be like that. Maybe the human mind is a fickle apparatus, and to try and understand it from within the confines of its own boundaries is nothing more than a fruitless endeavor. And see, this kind of endless introspection, this kind of endless philosophizing, this Ouroboros cycle of words that our ancestors have pondered for thousands of years, well, in my opinion, it's kind of a waste of time. In fact, asking the question, what is meaningful, and trying to answer it in a purely objective sense, it's gay.
Oh my God!
That's right, it's time for another tangent, and this is my patented philosophy is gay tangent, which I have written down in about 6 scripts and it's never been released. So be ready to dip your toes into one of my biggest talking points. So for thousands and thousands of years, dumb, gay losers have acted like they were so smart for saying things like, oh, what is life? What is consciousness? What is the meaning of life? What is true fulfillment? What is death? And it's my honest belief that there are many conceptual, non-quantifiable words in human language whose full comprehension is simply outside of the bounds of the human brain. By that I mean, when we create a word to define a concept, that concept is only really defined in terms of its relatability to the human experience in general. And there are no other words relating to an objective physical reality, that would be able to fully encompass the true meaning of something that is so conceptual. We make up words to define aspects of our own existence, and can understand their sort of vibe-related meaning as a result of commonalities in the human experience, as I mentioned earlier. All art, writing, and media that we deem meaningful, whether in a broader for humanity sense or a ooh, it's meaningful to me sense, usually derives that meaning from a sense of shared experience, relatability. Art is a manner of conveying these conceptual topics while also recognizing that there are flaws in language, while recognizing that there are no words that can fully encapsulate certain topics, certain elements that we all kind of intrinsically understand. See, the thing with philosophy is that I've yet to read a single quote that can't be boiled down to something that I thought of when I was 7 and I gained consciousness. Philosophy as a topic is basically only valuable because it puts these things that we all think of inherently, in elementary school nonetheless, into words. Words that sound nice. And I'm going to give you a few examples here. For instance, I looked up Plato quote, and it said, "When the mind is thinking, it is talking to itself." Yeah, duh, retard. What is that? Is that supposed to be deep? Of course, obviously. Let's give our boy Socrates a chance, right? Socrates, famous guy, he's gotta be smart. "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." Yeah, so basically you are red-pilled and based if you acknowledge the limited viewpoint of being a human who will physically never be able to comprehend the universe. Or to put that in even simpler terms, remember you're just a guy and you're smart if you know that you're just a guy and you're not some omnipotent god. Like, I get that a lot of people's mortal folly is that they view themselves as a third-person perspective that is immune to human bias, but I mean, if you've never acknowledged the limitations of your own perspective, goddamn, you gotta be taking rides on the short bus daily, buddy. Anyways, back to meaning. Sorry for the rant. I have a couple other scripts where I just shit on the field of philosophy, and I mean, honestly, I have a series coming up on it. It's called Triple Beppo versus the Big Six. It's gonna be great. But yeah, meaning. Let's talk about meaning. See, anyone can agree that, the birth of your first child is probably going to be a meaningful experience. But to actually define the term to describe what is and isn't meaningful is a lot more difficult. I guess you could say that meaning is akin to importance in a physical and biological sense in that scenario, the scenario of your firstborn child. That the meaning is a sort of attribute that's added to things that you intrinsically deem important. Oh, we're hardwired to survive and reproduce, so, yeah, of course having a child is meaningful. Yeah. See, meaning is, in my opinion, assigned based on a combination of super complex and multifaceted factors whose nuance is unique to every individual as a result of both their genetic predisposition and their environmental life circumstances. A little bit of a cop-out answer, I know, but what I'm trying to say is that I don't disregard the viewpoints that I've been making fun of this whole time. Yeah, of course, humans are biologically hardwired to survive and reproduce, so therefore the birth of your firstborn child, taking care of your family, those are all meaningful actions. Creating art is meaningful because it communicates to other humans, and all that sort of thing. I get it. But there are other priorities in life. There are other things that are meaningful that aren't explained away by one particular viewpoint or another. So I like to say something that sort of encapsulates all of them into one big thing. Because meaning in and of itself is something that is not necessarily indescribable, but I would say it's very hard to describe with the level of nuance that's required to describe it in a way that is meaningful, right? I think that it's a really boring answer to to say what I just said. And I mean, yeah, objectively it is true. You can say, oh, there are a bunch of circumstances that I'm not going to define because they're, like, very varied in each and every person. And, you can't concisely define meaning because blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I mean, from an objectivist lens, if you're actually trying to define the word. But I think that defining the word in and of itself is a flawed concept. It's an answer that... Defining the word in and of itself and, you know, answering the what is meaning question, they both don't necessarily cover the it just be like that thing that I mentioned earlier. You know, people still feel that they live meaningless lives while being in positions of objective success. People often perform actions that are counterproductive to both their happiness and life progress. And then it just circles back to, they just be like that, or, their brains are defective, maybe they're just retarded, haha. Both of which are answers that kind of just boil down to, I don't know, lol, maybe they're just exceptions, haha. See, the thing is, when you try to define meaning, it doesn't really make sense when you try to define it in words. Meaning is one of those words that we kind of just intrinsically understand, almost as an emotion. Everyone has things that are meaningful to them, and while human language isn't able to accurately convey the nuance, the feeling, and the intricacies of meaning, so what? What's the point in even trying to define it, you know? Maybe the worth in saying what's worth saying doesn't necessarily translate to quote-unquote meaning. So if meaning isn't it, if objective reward isn't it, and if subjective happiness isn't it, why am I making this video? Why is this on my list of priorities? Now you can make a bunch of guesses. You could say validation, a message, a self-masturbatory broadcast to pretend that you're smart in front of a crowd of 4,500 people, AdSense money, committing to the video schedule, coming back after a week-long hiatus that was unexplained. And while yeah, a lot of those are definitely true in terms of being physical factors that have led to the creation of this video, you'd be hard-pressed to argue that any of those, even in combination, outweigh any of the other fun or productive things that I could be doing right now. It's not even necessarily like an artistic calling or a passion that I feel in my heart to be writing this right now. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna take a break from recording right now just to show you how much I actually don't care about making this video, and I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette.
Everyone has fingernails and everyone wants cash.
There, I did it. It was the second cigarette from a nearly fresh pack of Marlboro Blend 27s, and it was very nice. See, but I could be lying about that though. And the thing is, your limited perception as a viewer of this video actually prevents you from knowing whether or not I really did that. It prevents you from knowing whether or not I just lied to you, whether or not I actually just inhaled tobacco smoke just now. Your limited perception as a viewer is interesting in terms of its relation to this conversation, actually. See, because the limited perception of the human mind is one which oftentimes cannot comprehend its own reasoning. I can't say that this video is objectively particularly more meaningful to me than any of the other various activities I could be doing right now. I can't say that I feel some grand emotional urge that's pushing me to write all this down. Sure, from a scientist's perspective, there's a set of quantifiable objective circumstances that might have led me to this exact point in time. But even being able to acknowledge that fact doesn't really benefit me in any way. Because as a human, sometimes it just feels like you be doing shit. The fact of the matter is, if you want a truly objective answer to what is meaningful and what is worth saying and what is worth doing, it's that it's literally none of it. Nothing you do and nothing anyone has ever done throughout the entirety of human history is objectively meaningful or valuable from a perspective outside that of an individual human. And an argument that could be raised is that maybe humans collectively agree on the value of something, technologies, societal developments, socio-cultural values, whatever. But that still is only valuable in the realm of man. And while that might sound nihilistic or depressing, I really don't mean it that way. because in the end, it's just a moot point. The perspective of man is the only perspective that is relevant to our current existence. If you ever find yourself thinking, oh, nothing matters, nothing is meaningful, we all die in the end, you're attempting to disregard your own humanity, and you're trying to speak from the eyes of some third-party omniscient observer. To waste your time and worry over existential problems that aren't even relevant to you as a being? Well, it's one of the most mind-numbing conversations to play teen therapist with your friends over, I'll tell you that much. No, you're not smarter than everyone else for thinking these deep thoughts. If anything, I would say that you're kinda dumb. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to, conceptualize human existence from a non-human angle. To try and view anything objectively is, well, it's a flawed rationale. It's a flawed way of thinking. Assuming that you're able to speak objectively is something which opens you up to a lot of vulnerability. It opens your ideas up to a lot of vulnerability. Because disregarding your own biases is disregarding an objective fact of the world. Doing so allows you to justify pretty much any action that you take. It allows you to absolve yourself of any sin. It allows you to be controlled by your human biases while also attempting to pretend that they're not there. And I think that that's gay. But they're also just really annoying, in my opinion, because they completely disregard the most beautiful aspect of being human. It is through our limitations as a species, through the fact that there are unanswerable questions that we will never be able to comprehend, that we are given the gift of meaning. See, because meaning is a concept which is only available to those with a limited perception of reality. Imagine the perspective of some omniscient god, some immortal who is able to see and hear and perceive everything and nothing all at once. Someone who's able to see people live and die and live and die, and realize that in the end we all just turn into ash. We all just feed back into the life cycle of the earth. How could you ever find meaning in an existence like that? The only true meaning can be derived from the perspective of a human, the flawed and limited perspective. The perspective that has barriers around it that prevent it from understanding everything about the universe. It makes the world a grand adventure. It allows us to see and feel joy, anger, sadness, ambition, purpose. And it's a shame that we often disregard the true beauty of the world around us, of the existence that we are so blessed with. While yes, maybe it's not a walk in the park to exist sometimes, maybe sometimes it gets hard. As long as you're here, watching this video, it seems evident to me that you, to some extent, find life to be meaningful enough to keep on living. Because it's not hard to die. If you genuinely feel that everything is meaningless and that you have no value in life and that there's no purpose, there's nothing for you here, there's no reason, why do you keep on doing it? Sure, maybe your rational, objectivist mind can't figure it out, but unconsciously, the fact that you're sitting here and watching this video, there is something in life that you do find valuable. And maybe you're wasting it away trying to be some rational, Reddit atheist. Maybe you're trying to figure out the deep questions of the world and you're toiling over the fact that your existence is meaningless. But guess what? That's what makes it fun, dude. The fact that we can't understand everything about the universe, the fact that everything we do will ultimately amount to nothing, what that means is that we have the freedom to do whatever we want. That means that we have the freedom to pursue the things that we want to pursue, be the person that we want to be. And I mean, so what if it's meaningless? It feels like it has meaning to me as a human, and that's all that really matters. Who cares if I will rot away in the end? Who cares if one day I'll be laying in a coffin and everyone will forget about me? Oh no, oh the humanity. The fact of the matter is, I'm having fun right now, being a cute and funny virtual idol on the internet. And you might say, oh, saying who cares to such a deep and philosophical question, oh, that is even more of a cop-out answer than just saying that it's subjective. Well, no, because what I'm giving is an answer to existentialism as a whole. This is the reason I'm asking 3 questions. What is worth saying? What is worth doing? What is meaning? It's because all of those questions fall under this umbrella of who really cares? Do whatever you want. You'll intrinsically find things to be meaningful as you do them. And until you take deliberate action in your life, of course you're going to feel like life is meaningless and that you have no purpose. Of course you're going to have no ambition. Because what you're doing is you're squandering the beautiful gift that is a human perspective of the world. The human perspective of the world, as meaningless as it is, the temporary human life that you are granted, that is what gives you the ability to have meaning. That is what gives you the ability to ascribe meaning and fulfillment and all of these different existential, philosophical terms to various aspects of your life, I'm not going to deny the rational perspective where it's like, oh, there are 9 bajillion different nuanced butterfly effect factors that led you down to this path, blah, 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 blah. I get it, But part of life is also that you have to willfully choose to only believe things that benefit you. And while I acknowledge the value in the scientific method, I acknowledge the value in a rational outlook of the world, and, I consider myself relatively more based in reality than most people. It's a balance, you really do have to accept your humanity in order to ever live a fulfilling life. You can't just allow yourself to think that there is a separation between your internal monologue and the rest of your humanity. There is no objectivity, even in the voice in your head, Even if you try to view things as objectively as possible, it's a fruitless endeavor. All it manages to do is make you feel depressed about the fact that you're a human and that you can't do anything about it. See, everyone knows about that hypothetical of being a vampire who lives forever, and then you get to witness the heat death of the universe. Everyone you know and love dies, and it's a tragic and horrible existence. And everyone's like, oh, I would never want to be immortal. But when you ask questions that attempt to disregard your own humanity, questions which try to define conceptual things which we intrinsically understand as a part of the human experience, what you're doing is you're trying to take the perspective of something that is not human. You're trying to take the perspective of that immortal that you would never wish to be. And I hope I'm making sense to you. I hope that my words are reaching you and that they're able to be comprehended by your brain right now. You have never had a single objective thought in your mind throughout your entire life. You have always been subject to the biases that come with being a human. And to try and act like you're above that, and that, no, actually everything I do and everything I believe is based on facts and logic, that is probably one of the biggest pitfalls that you can fall into. It allows you to justify pretty much any action you take and disregard any opposing viewpoint. You need to acknowledge your own biases. There's nothing wrong with believing you're right. There's nothing wrong with backing up your arguments with facts and logic. But at the same time, you need to acknowledge your own human biases, and you need to acknowledge that perhaps the enemy side might not be factually incorrect, but rather they might just disagree with your core beliefs and values. And that doesn't mean that you have to, consider their side. That doesn't mean that you have to, be like, oh, actually, maybe I shouldn't disagree with them. Maybe I should join them. No, that's not what I'm saying. Stick by your beliefs, but at the same time acknowledge that you are not some arbiter of truth and justice. You're a human being. And you're on the internet. You're on the internet, dude. The biggest propaganda machine we have ever seen. So, basically, what is meaningful? Yes, it's subjective. Yes, it's an amalgamation of a bunch of innate traits that humans have. Yes, it is partially influenced by life experience. I have no direct answer to what is or isn't meaningful because there's no broad, overreaching thing that could encompass all of what is meaningful to all of humanity. What I will say, though, is that the only way to find meaning in your own life is to go out and do things, is to take deliberate action in your life. You know, I say this every time, but if you're dissatisfied with your current position, do something about it. Meaning in itself is a term which we use to describe things that are important to us, but important to us in a way that appeals to some unconscious part of our mind that makes them more important than just important. It's like a level up from important. That's the actual, literal definition I would give you. But realistically, what I think it is it's an innately understood feeling that we all have. A feeling that we all have the ability to tap into when something meaningful occurs in our lives, or when we take an action that we deem meaningful. It's the kind of thing where, you can't exactly describe something that is meaningful, but you can give an example. You can recognize meaning when you see it. And that's it. That's just it. So to answer the 3 primary questions posed at the beginning of this video, what is worth saying? What is worth doing? What is meaning? Let's just answer them real quick. Here's my TLDR. What is worth saying? Nothing. What is worth doing? Nothing. What is meaningful? I don't know. The thing is, there is no direct meaning of life. And I'm tired of everyone acting like, the solution, the objective meaning of life is like some MacGuffin. It's like some holy grail that you can actually discover in some objective sense. My answer is that there is no meaning of life, but you can find meaningful things in your own life, so long as you go out and actively participate in it. There's not going to be a direct meaning that you're going to find, one all-encompassing, holy grail answer that's going to solve all of the existential problems that have plagued humanity for the entirety of its being. But you'll find things to do that are meaningful for you, and you're going to find a lot of satisfaction and fulfillment in that. So I encourage you, go out there and try as many things as possible. Do as many things as you want to do. And when you feel meaning, you're going to know it. You're going to know when you've done something meaningful. Intrinsically. Because you're a human being. Anyways, I hope you liked this video. Sorry for the 1.5-week delay. I've been doing a lot of stuff. I was getting waterboarded by the CIA in Guantanamo Bay. But if you leave a like on this video, that's one more bucket of water on my face. I'm going back for my next waterboarding session in about a few hours. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. We're getting back on schedule, boys. Next video probably coming out on Saturday. And yeah, thanks for watching. And as always,
subscribe to make me feel better about my regrets.
So without any further ado, I would like to give a special thank you and a special shout out to my Patreons over at patreon.com. Thank you guys so much for supporting my work financially and giving me money so that I can buy Crayola crayons to finish Trapstar Chronicles with. For our connoisseurs of fine art, we've got Vershi, Thick Melon, Tech9, Skin Peeler, Prisoner Suicide, Polar, Night of the World, Mercury OG, Conscious Junk, and Chairfruit. For our pseudo-intellectual supporters, thank you so much, guys. We've got Slow Slicing, that little green dog man, Saws, the homie Maroni, Misos Al Pinks, and the one and only Zucchini. And last, but most certainly not least, thank you so much for continually being a super simp. You are honestly a blessing in my life, and you have allowed me to continue conquering YouTube Shorts while also, not negatively impacting my bank account that much. Thank you so much to Dell. God bless you, for real. I actually really appreciate your continued donations. Heart goes out to you, buddy. 100p. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and we're going back to the one video every 5 days schedule. I'm sorry for slipping up last week, but I was going through it, man. I'm not gonna lie. Hell, I might even post a video where I just ranted while I was going through it, so to speak. I recorded a bunch of them. So, yeah. Look forward to that. Look forward to Triple Beppo versus the Big Six. Look forward to Trapstar Chronicles. And look forward to Never-Ending Solipsistic Nightmare Episode 2, which has already been recorded. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And as always, keep it real. See, and I know, I understand the ridiculousness of being told this by a virtual idol on the internet. But so many people fall into this trap. Hell, I mean, I even fell into this trap when I was like a teenager, where you're thinking about all of these unanswered philosophical questions and you're thinking, ugh, why can't we figure this out? What the frick? Or, you know, alternatively, you think, ugh, but it's so simple. The answer is that everything sucks and everything is meaningless. Listen, I get it. I was a Chunibyo genius too. Maybe I still am, actually. Maybe cut that part out.